Throughout the summer of 2020, record amounts of people traveled across provincial parks in North America to escape urban centers with strict COVID-19 measures. Many people were out of work over the summer as a result of the pandemic, leaving those financially stable enough from CERB benefit money or other financial sources with free time to fill. While some had the ability to climb mountains and swim in glacier lakes on weekdays, others were running the essential services that allow this province to operate, therefore risking their lives on a daily basis in order to survive. Who were the people on the mountains experiencing so-called North America and all its beauty? And who were the others working in grocery stores, gas stations, and other essential services? In our short film, we will explore the dimensions of racial and class injustices that provide access to outdoor spaces for some, while inhibiting access for many. Before COVID times, in a 2018 study by the Society of American Foresters, it was found that between 2010 and 2014, 94.6% of visitors to national forests in America identified as white. And as Claire Major and Roger Keel explained in their piece, SARS and Service Work, racialized people are disproportionately represented in employment fields that put them at higher risk during an epidemic and are forced to experience different racialized implications during a crisis.
In exploring the social and environmental sustainability of our national parks, we have examined social data and asked of it, who had the ability to take the summer off and explore the mountains and lakes and natural beauty of North America? This is an ongoing and uncomfortable experience, and as a result, the official empirical data does not currently exist. In response to this, we have turned to social media to interpret people's lived experiences as data that expresses the trends we are seeing. As James Connolly explained, people take and post pictures of the things they value, and as such, we can trust the trends that they tell. This summer, hashtags such as #SerbLife, #FunEmployment, and #COVIDSummer have taken over many Instagram feeds. Systematically searching through these hashtags, we have found that they are overwhelmingly accompanied with pictures such as those seen on the screen, of white people hiking, swimming, camping in the beautiful North American wilderness. These social representations of value tell us how certain people are positioned in certain spaces. On the other end of the conversation, racial minorities are also taking to social media to share their perspective on this situation. To understand this viewpoint, we explored multiple blog posts where the theme of converging pandemics of racism and COVID-19 was expressed. BIPOC individuals are systemically excluded from nature, and this has been amplified by the pandemic. The lived data we have collected shows us that there are many barriers to escaping quarantine for BIPOC individuals. These include the cost of gear and of travel to national parks, the distance from inner-city neighborhoods to wilderness, the disproportionate number of racialized individuals working in essential services, as well as explicit racism and environmental exclusion.
As the spread of COVID-19 became increasingly rampant in urban centers throughout the summer of 2020, people from all walks of life utilized national and provincial parks in Canada and the US in an attempt to escape from the stress of the cities. Hordes of people, some brand new to hiking, spent summer days exploring mountainous trails and camping in the front and back country. The increase in number of park goers was concerning to public health officials due to the lack of distancing measures along the trails. It was even more concerning to local inhabitants near popular parks. For example, in June 2020, the Navajo Nation, which at the time had 5,250 cases of COVID-19, one of the highest infection rates in the United States, feared that an influx of tourists to the Grand Canyon National Park, which is situated on their territory, would lead to an uptake in cases. The Haida Nation went so far as to closing their islands to tourists to keep their communities safe from the effects of the pandemic. To manage the large number of crowds infiltrating popular parks in the Lower Mainland, this past summer, BC Parks implemented a mandatory day pass system. The most accessible parks by private vehicles or public transit, Cypress, Garibaldi, Golden Ears, Mount Robson, Mount Seymour, and the Squamish Chief, required the reservation of a pass only available at 6 a.m. the morning of, and limited the number of passes to 8 per person. Many of these parks required an arrival before 1 p.m. in order to be admitted. While BC park officials intended to keep everyone safe and healthy by limiting the amount of people occupying park spaces, It further divided those who could access space and those who could not. On weekends, park passes were nearly impossible to obtain. By 6:01 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday morning throughout the summer, all passes had already been reserved. The online reservation system to obtain park passes on weekdays was less competitive. However, it is important to consider who had the luxury of experiencing the wilderness on a weekday, while others were putting their lives on the line at low-wage jobs. In a sidebar blog post, an avid hiker who writes about the politics of hiking suggests that we all experience hiking differently because of race and gender and class and sexuality and disability and citizenship, and none of this gets dropped off at the trailhead. The blog post continues to suggest that this is not to say that we can't all experience the pleasure of getting away from it all while hiking, but that pleasurable experience doesn't mean that racism or sexism or homophobia are just absent from the backcountry. The author alludes to these inequalities that are not new to COVID-19. They are merely exacerbated, and these pre-existing social exclusions have always been present. Access to park spaces is an environmental justice issue, which must be combated in attaining a sustainable future.
And so we ask you, as we asked our fellow classmates, how do you experience park spaces?